I told my fiancé I wasn't ready for kids, so he secretly got a vasectomy reversal and lied about it. You never forget the exact moment you realize your future just shifted beneath your feet. For me, it wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just a quiet Sunday evening on our couch, rain tapping against the windows, and the weight of a single sentence hanging in the air like smoke. I don't think I want kids, Daniel. I'd been circling around those words for months. Not because I hated children. I loved my nieces, adored babysitting for friends, but because at 32, I finally understood myself well enough to know that motherhood wasn't my path. At least not right now. Maybe not ever. Daniel looked up from his book, eyebrows raised. What do you mean? I took a breath. I mean, I love our life. Traveling, late dinners, sleeping in on weekends. I don't feel that pull other women talk about. And honestly, I'm scared I'd resent it if I said yes just because it's what's next. He set his book down slowly, but we talked about this when we got engaged. You said you were open to the idea. I said I'd consider it, I corrected gently. But the more I think about it, the more sure I am. I don't want to be a mom. Silence stretched between us, thick and unfamiliar. Then he nodded. Okay, if that's how you feel, I respect it. He reached for my hand. We'll figure it out. Together. And just like that, I thought it was settled. No drama. No ultimatums. Just two adults choosing each other over a checklist. For the next 6 months, everything felt lighter. We booked a trip to Portugal. Started looking at houses with home offices instead of nurseries. Even joked about adopting a second dog instead of having kids. I trusted him completely. Which is why, when I found the receipt tucked in his gym bag 3 weeks ago, my whole world didn't just tilt. It shattered. Northside Urology Center. Vasectomy reversal procedure. Paid in full. Date 4 months ago. Patient Daniel Reyes. Amount $8,200. My hands shook so badly I dropped the receipt. Vasectomy reversal? But he'd gotten the vasectomy before we even met. After his ex-wife left him, he'd told me. Permanent, he'd said. No going back. Except he'd gone back. Without telling me. While I was telling him I didn't want children, he was already planning to override my choice. I sat on the bathroom floor for an hour, staring at that piece of paper like it might burst into flames. Was this why he'd been so calm that night? Because he already knew he could undo my no? When he came home, I held up the receipt. His face went pale. Nina, I can explain. Explain what? I asked, voice eerily calm. That you lied to me about something that affects my entire body, my career, my life? I did it because I love you, he said, desperation creeping in. I thought, maybe once we were married, you'd change your mind. And I wanted to be ready. But you didn't ask, I whispered. You just decided for both of us. He reached for me. Please don't make this bigger than it is. Nothing's changed. We're still us. But everything had changed. Because trust isn't just about loving someone. It's about believing they'll honor your boundaries, even when they don't understand them. And Daniel hadn't just crossed a line. He'd erased it. That night, I packed my engagement ring into a small velvet box and left it on his pillow. But as I walked out the door, he called after me. You're throwing away 3 years over a medical procedure? And part of me, the part that still loved him, wondered if he was right. I didn't go far, just to my sister's guest room 2 blocks away. But the distance felt like miles. Daniel showed up an hour later, rain-soaked and frantic. Nina, please, talk to me. We sat on her porch swing, the wood creaking under our weight, neither of us meeting the other's eyes. You lied to me, I said again, because it still didn't feel real. You spent $8,000 to reverse a permanent decision, without telling me. I didn't lie, he insisted. I just didn't tell you yet. That's the same thing. My voice cracked. You knew how I felt. You held my hand while I told you I didn't want kids, and you were already planning to ignore that. He ran a hand through his wet hair. I thought I was being hopeful, romantic even, like keeping the door open. The door wasn't yours to keep open, I said quietly. It was mine to walk through or not. He fell silent. Then softly, do you really never want kids, not even someday? I looked at him, really looked. Saw the hope in his eyes, the fear beneath it. I don't know about never, but I know about not now. And I know that you should have respected that enough to wait until I was sure. But what if you never are sure? He asked, voice breaking. What if we get married and you still say no? Am I supposed to live the rest of my life wondering what if? The question hung between us, heavy and unfair. Because love shouldn't be a gamble with someone else's autonomy. I can't promise you a child, I said. But I can promise you honesty. And you took that away. He reached for my hand again. So what now? You call off the wedding over this? I don't know, I admitted. But I can't marry someone who thinks my no is just a suggestion. We sat in silence for a long time. rain dripping from the eaves, distant thunder rolling. Then he stood. I'll give you space. But Nina, don't throw us away because I made one mistake. One mistake? I echoed as he walked away. Or one betrayal? After he left, I texted my best friend Maya. He got a vasectomy reversal behind my back. What do I do? Her reply was immediate. Aita for wanting to leave him? I stared at my phone, tears blurring the screen. Was I? Next morning, I posted my story on Reddit. Anonymous, raw, desperate for perspective. Within hours, thousands of comments poured in. Some called me cruel. Others called him controlling. But one response stopped me cold. He didn't just reverse a vasectomy. He reversed your consent. I titled the post simply, Aita for calling off my wedding after finding out my fiancé secretly reversed his vasectomy. I laid out everything. The conversation where I said I didn't want kids, his calm acceptance, the receipt in his gym bag, the $8,200 price tag on my autonomy. Within an hour, the comments exploded. NTA, this is reproductive coercion. YTA, he's allowed to want kids, you're being selfish. Especially NTA, he violated your bodily boundaries before you even said I do. Maybe he just loves you so much he couldn't imagine life without you as a mom? I scrolled for hours, my heart pounding with every new notification. Strangers were seeing our relationship more clearly than I had. One comment stood out. Ask yourself, if he'd done this after marriage, would it feel like abuse? Because it is. That hit me like a punch to the chest. I'd been framing this as a betrayal of trust. But what if it was something darker? What if it was about control? Daniel called that afternoon. I saw your post. I froze. You weren't supposed to see it. It's all over our relationships, he said, voice tight. People are calling me a monster. Are you? I asked quietly. No, I made a mistake. A huge, stupid mistake. But I love you. Isn't that enough? Love doesn't erase consent, Daniel. He sighed. What do you want me to do? Get another vasectomy? The offer startled me. Would you? If it means keeping you, yes. But that wasn't the point. The point was he'd already decided my body wasn't mine to control. Later that day, my mom called. Your sister told me what happened. Honey, maybe you're overreacting? Men want children. It's natural. Is it natural to lie about it? I shot back. To spend thousands of dollars to undo my choice before I even made it? She hesitated. Maybe he just hoped you'd change your mind. But he didn't wait to find out, I said. He just assumed I would. That night, I reread the Reddit comments. The ones that called me selfish stung. Were they right? Was I throwing away 3 years of love because I couldn't compromise? But then I remembered the look on his face when I found the receipt. Not guilt, but panic that he'd been caught. Compromise is mutual. This was unilateral. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my sister's with a printed letter from his urologist. Patient requests repeat vasectomy. He handed it to me with tears in his eyes. See? I'll fix it. Just come home. But as I read the letter, one line made my blood run cold. Procedure scheduled pending final consultation. He hadn't actually done it yet. He was using the promise as leverage. I stared at the letter in my hands, the clinic letterhead crisp and official. On the surface, it looked like redemption, proof he was willing to make things right. But something felt off. Why haven't you scheduled it yet? I asked. He shifted uncomfortably. I wanted to talk to you first. Make sure this is really what you want. My stomach dropped. So you're making my forgiveness conditional on whether I accept this gesture? No, he said quickly. I need to know there's a future for us after this. There it was. The trap. He wasn't offering to restore my trust. He was offering to trade a medical procedure for my return. I handed the letter back. If you really meant it, you'd have already done it, without asking for anything in return. His face fell. You don't believe me. I believe you want me back, I said. But I don't believe you understand why I left. That night, I called Dr. Rivera, my therapist. Am I wrong to feel violated by this? Nina, she said gently, consent isn't just about sex. It's about every decision that affects your body and your future. He bypassed yours completely. That's not romantic. It's coercive. Her words echoed in my head as I lay awake. Had I been gaslighting myself this whole time? Calling it a mistake when it was actually a power play? The next morning, I met Maya for coffee. She slid a folder across the table. I did some research. Inside were articles about stealthing, removing condoms without consent, and legal cases where men had been sued for secretly reversing vasectomies. One headline read, Reproductive Sabotage, When Love Becomes Control. This isn't just about babies, Maya said. It's about whether you get to decide what happens to your own life. I thought about Daniel's words. I did it because I love you. But love that erases your boundaries isn't love. It's ownership. Later that day, I texted Daniel. I need more time. Don't contact me for a week. He replied instantly. Please don't shut me out. I'll do anything. But anything shouldn't include deciding whether I become a mother. That weekend, I visited the house we'd been renovating together, the one with the sunroom we'd planned as a home office. As I stood in the empty kitchen, I found a hidden note taped under the cabinet for when our baby starts walking, dated 2 months ago. He hadn't just reversed his vasectomy. He'd already started building a future I never agreed to. I stood in that half-finished kitchen, the note trembling in my hand, and realized I didn't recognize the man I'd agreed to marry. The sunroom wasn't just a home office. It was a nursery waiting to happen. The extra closet in the master bedroom? For baby clothes, he must have thought. The backyard we'd landscaped with soft grass, safe for toddlers to crawl. Every decision we'd made together had been filtered through his secret plan. He hadn't just lied about the vasectomy. He'd been living in a parallel universe where I'd already said yes. I called the contractor. Can you tell me who chose the finishes for the nursery? Sorry, sunroom? There was a pause. Daniel picked everything last month. Said it was a surprise for you. A surprise, right. I sat on the bare living room floor, surrounded by drop cloths and paint cans, and cried, not for the relationship I was losing, but for the trust I'd given so freely. Daniel had weaponized my love against me, made me complicit in a future I never wanted, all while pretending to support my choice. That evening, I packed up the few things I'd left at the house, my books, my favorite mug, the photo album from our trip to Greece. As I carried the last box to my car, Daniel pulled into the driveway. Nina, wait! I turned. He looked exhausted, unshaven, holding a bouquet of white lilies, my favorite. I scheduled the vasectomy, he said, tomorrow morning. I didn't take the flowers. Why now? Because I finally get it, he said, voice breaking. You don't just not want kids. You need to know I'll respect that. No loopholes, no hoping you'll change your mind. Ever. For the first time, I saw real remorse in his eyes. Not panic, not desperation, understanding. But was it enough? I believe you mean it today, I said. But what about in 5 years? When your friends are all grandparents and you start wondering what if? He was quiet for a long moment. Then I'll choose you. Over and over, even if it hurts. It was the right answer. The only answer that mattered. But trust once broken doesn't heal in a day. I got into my car without taking the flowers. As I drove away, I checked my phone. A notification from the clinic. Confirmation, vasectomy procedure for Daniel Reyes tomorrow at 9 a.m. But then I saw the fine print. Patient may cancel up to 24 hours before. He could still back out. And part of me wondered if he already had. I didn't sleep that night. Every hour, I checked my phone, waiting for news. At 10:03 a.m., a text came through. It's done. Photos if you want proof. Attached were 2 images. Daniel in a hospital gown, holding a bandage, and a close-up of the surgical consent form with permanent sterilization clearly checked. My hands shook as I showed them to Maya. Do you think it's real? She studied the photos. Looks legit. But Nina, even if it is, are you really going back? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know, 2 days later, I agreed to meet him at our favorite park, the place where he'd proposed 3 years ago. He looked different, quieter, less certain. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said, sitting beside me on the bench. But I needed you to know I meant it. I watched ducks glide across the pond. Why did you do it, Daniel, really? He sighed. After my divorce, I swore I'd never let a woman control my future again. But with you, I didn't feel controlled. I felt free. And that scared me. So when you said no to kids, I panicked. I thought, if I lose this, I lose everything. So I tried to secure it. By lying, I said. By being selfish, he corrected. I put my fear ahead of your truth. It was the most honest he'd ever been. We sat in silence for a long time. Then he said, if you walk away today, I'll understand. But if you stay, I'll spend every day earning back your trust. I looked at him, really looked. Saw the man I'd fallen for, buried beneath layers of fear and regret. Could I love him again? Maybe. But could I trust him? That would take time. I'm not ready to come home, I said finally. But I'm not ready to say goodbye either. He nodded, tears in his eyes. However long it takes. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not for the relationship, but for the possibility of healing. That night, I updated my Reddit post. He actually went through with the vasectomy. Now what? The top comment read, now you ask yourself, if he'd never done it, would you still want him? Because that's the real question. And for the first time, I didn't know the answer. I spent the next month alone. No Danielle, no pressure. Just me, my thoughts, and the quiet space to remember who I was outside of Fiancé. I reread our old texts, watched videos from our trips, remembered the way he'd hold my hand during scary movies, how he'd make me tea when I was stressed, how how he'd supported my dream of opening a pottery studio even when it seemed impractical. He wasn't a monster. He was a flawed man who'd made a terrible, controlling choice out of fear. But here's what I realized. Love isn't about perfection. It's about repair. One rainy afternoon, I invited him over. Not to the house, but to my sister's porch where it all began. "I've been thinking," I said, "about us." He sat very still. "And? I don't know if I can marry you," I admitted, "but I'd like to try dating you. Starting over, no expectations, no timelines, just seeing who we are now." Relief flooded his face. "Yes, anything. But there are rules," I said firmly. "No talking about kids. No future planning beyond next month. And if I ever say stop, you stop. Immediately." "I swear," he said. We started slow. Coffee dates. Walks in the park. No physical intimacy at first, just rebuilding the foundation. 3 months in, I moved back into the house, but into the guest room. We painted the sunroom together, this time choosing bold blue walls for my pottery studio. One evening, as we washed brushes side by side, he said, "I used to think love meant getting what I wanted. Now I know it means wanting what's best for you, even if it's not what I imagined." Tears pricked my eyes. "I'm still not sure about kids. And I'm okay with that," he said, "because I choose you. Not a version of you with children, just you." It wasn't perfect. Some days, the memory of that receipt still made my stomach clench. But healing isn't linear. 6 months later, we canceled the wedding. Not because we broke up, but because we decided to elope quietly, just the two of us, on a beach in Maine. No guests, no expectations, just promises made with clear eyes and full hearts. As I slipped the ring back on my finger, I finally understood. The healthiest love doesn't demand you change. It celebrates you as you are, and that's worth fighting for. Last week, I found a new note in the pottery studio, not hidden, but taped proudly to the wall. "For all the beautiful things we'll create together." Signed, always yours, Daniel. And for the first time in a year, I believed him. Hello, guys. Hope you enjoyed the story. Hit the like button and tell your thoughts in comments. So, in my opinion, you know what stays with me about Nina's story isn't the vasectomy. It's the quiet courage it took to walk away from a love she still cherished. So many would have stayed to avoid ruining 3 years, or convinced themselves his lie was romantic. But Nina understood something vital. Love without consent isn't love, it's possession. And honestly, the fact that Daniel finally got it, that he chose her autonomy over his fantasy, that's rare. Most people double down. He didn't. But here's my real take. She should have left for good. Not because he didn't deserve a second chance, but because once someone shows you they'll override your no, that shadow never fully disappears. Every future yes will be haunted by the memory of that betrayal. Would I have taken him back? I don't know. But I deeply respect that Nina chose herself first, even when it hurt. What about you? Could you trust someone again after they secretly planned your future without you?